All right, welcome. We're going to get started. Just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's a pretty good turnout. It's about, what, 20, 25 people. And we got Facebook and Zoom land. We're live right now on the internet too as well. So that's pretty cool. I think I looked last, we had about 20 people watching us live stream. This is also being recorded, so if you want to go back later and watch it again. I got to mute my speaker. Fix that real quick. Yeah, there you go. Cool. Yeah, some technical difficulties. But who saw us for Air Force training last week? All right, cool. So a couple repeat offenders, if you will. Did you guys recruit anyone to come out with you? All right, cool. All right, so my name is Matt Strickland. I am the owner and broker of Modern Realty Guam. This is my good friend, Mr. Thomas Payne. He's a veteran, Navy veteran, superstar, real estate agent in San Diego, mortgage loan officer, and utilized the VA loan over and over throughout his time. So we got a wealth of experience to bring to you tonight. Really awesome PowerPoint slide to go through. We're gonna break stuff down visually for you, talk to you about how you can build wealth over your career, and then at the end we're gonna do a Q&A. But if at any point during the slide, whether you're in the internet world or here live, if you got a question, this training is for you guys. So we can stop and really drill down on something specific so that you leave here with your questions answered, okay?
Bring those questions, I know you too. Bring them. I hope you guys brought some fresh new material for us.
A little bit about me. I've been in the Navy 15 years on my way out for medical reasons these days. I got 40 rental properties that I built up PCSing over time. I love this stuff. I do a lot of investing. The only thing I wish I would have done different was it started sooner. I only started 7 years ago. So I built that up in 7 years. So for the young folks in the room, I'm almost 37. So if you're younger than me or younger than 30, you could do this too in just 7 years. Thomas, you're going to talk about yourself for a second?
Thank you, Matt. My mentor right there. I'm still learning everything that I can from this man. Been on the island for a month now. So I already kind of hit the ground running. In escrow on a property that he flipped over in Telefofo. Like you said, I've used the VA loan. My wife, she's her VA loan, so we're dual military. That's why I'm here. She's a Navy nurse, and she motivates me more than I think I motivate her. So I mean, she's all about real estate, so I'm now all about real estate. So we both went to go get our real estate license together. Turns out it's a little more demanding than she thought, so that's why I became a real estate agent, loan officer, and just wanted to be motivating to you guys and use me as a resource. So if you guys have any questions throughout this presentation, please ask. Don't hesitate. Like you said, we're a wealth of knowledge, so no question's a dumb question. I know that's the biggest thing in the military, but for real, if you guys have a question about anything, please stop us and we'll drill it in.
Cool. All right, so tonight we kind of shake and bake this. If you ever seen Talladega Nights, let him deal with his area's expertise, and then I talk about mine, and then we mix a little bit in the middle. So without further ado, we're going to jump ahead to the PowerPoint. Go ahead, next slide.
So we're all in the military, even spouses. So we all have a mission, and your all's mission is completely different than my mission. My mission is to help you guys get into houses. Save you guys a ton of money in doing so, possibly building a fence or paying off any kind of credit cards that you guys currently have, any kind of debt. So I want to prepare you guys to be ready to win. So professionally, you guys are in the military, your leaders, your higher ups, they're preparing you to get ready for something. Whatever that is, that's your all's mission. But my mission is to prepare you guys for home ownership. And in this presentation, I'm going to show you guys exactly how to do this. And let's go ahead and hit next slide. And prepare you guys for the win. And education is what I want to provide. So once again, no question's a dumb question. And I want to prepare you guys with as much knowledge so you guys can make the most informed decision that you can. So in this presentation, I hope to do that. And once again, if you guys have any questions, I can't reiterate that enough. Please ask. Next slide. So first off, you guys know your positions in the military. You're either E2 through E70, 89, or an officer. So you guys know that position. So once again, this next position for home ownership is a pre-approval process. So we're going to jump through that and show you guys exactly how to do that and why buying a house is so beneficial to you guys. So here's our agenda. So our first topic that we're going to talk about is why should I consider to buy a house? I bought my first house in 2016. Go ahead and go to the next slide. I bought my house 2016 out of state. My wife was transitioning down to San Diego. I was stuck up in Washington. So I had we had a really proactive real estate agent, and that's what I pride myself. I pride myself with customer service and adaptability. So if you guys are on deployment, if you guys are in another state and you guys are transitioning somewhere, I prided myself to make it as easy and once again, as most informed as I could give you guys as much information and as much information about an area so you guys weren't getting there. If you've never been to a certain area, not getting to that area and like, oh man, I don't really like this area. I wouldn't put you guys there. So once again, buy a house sooner. So that's why we want to bring all you guys in here and knock it out. So you can make a lot of money here in Guam. And this is a stateside representation. So a homeowner has 45 times more net worth than a renter. Let that sink in a little bit. 45 times more than net worth. Once again, this is stateside. Over here, you guys get 8 OHA. So OHA, no matter what, and no matter what your mortgage is, you guys are getting $24.50. No matter, I mean, if you guys are in between E1 all the way up to E8 with dependents, that's a lot of money. And we'll continue. We'll drive on that kind of topic.
All right, so top 5 reasons to buy, and I love this stuff. Like, it gets me really, really excited. Everybody I talk to, I try to get them excited about it, so I hope you get excited about it too. Start building your financial future. So Thomas just talked about that, right? When you're renting, you're just throwing that money away every month, right? Here you go, landlord. I got 40 properties, so I appreciate it because you're building my wealth, right? But we want you to get on the other side of the fence, start becoming that homeowner and that investor. Having control of your home. How many of you had to ask permission when you rent to paint the wall, to get a dog, to move something around that you didn't like, right?
All the time.
When you have your own home, guess who gets to make that decision? You do. You can paint the house pink, purple, blue, whatever you want. You have the control. The payment stability. Who knows how much rent increases on average every year? Anybody?
I guess.
Throw me a number.
50. 100.
It's about 3%. Okay? So 3%. What's the traditional length of a mortgage?
30 years.
30 years. Does that payment increase every year? Nope, it's a 30-year fixed rate, right? Your payment stays the same. So as you make more and more money, you put more and more money in your pocket to buy that next property. That makes sense? Tax benefits. So many tax benefits in real estate. Did you know that as a single individual, if you live in your home for 2 out of the last 5 years and you sell it, up to $250,000 of your profit is tax-free. If you're married, double, $500,000. $500,000. Married, I know they're married, so I'm looking at that. And you can do that every 2 years. You just keep stacking it, just keep growing, building. And you take all that money and you buy investment properties. And then that money makes you money. It's a snowball effect. Most of my increase towards that 40 properties and beyond is coming in the last couple of years because I had that base. And it's not a linear increase. It starts cranking up, right? And then the last one, get to get a dog. You don't got to ask the landlord. So that's pretty cool. Next slide. All right, so median sales price. It's going up, right? Like we see this stuff all over the states. You talk to your friends, you know, people are buying houses left and right. It's not a 2008 situation. It's not. People ask me that all the time. It's supply and demand. There's not enough houses right now for people that want to buy. There's a wealth of capital, there's a wealth of equity out there. Money is cheap. and prices are going up because of that. I had a good friend of mine that just moved to Alaska, E5 in the Coast Guard, owned his home on Guam, 18 months, made $87,000 on the sale of his home, and then he bought another one on Guam, moved out of it 8 months later, because they got orders. They thought they were staying, but they got orders. Said, you know, I don't really want to do the property management thing, the renter thing. That's fine, that's your decision. They sold that house 8 months later, another 15 grand. So almost 3 years in their tour, $100,000 in their pocket. They didn't do anything else different than any of you except own the property. It's pretty good if you ask me. Next slide. All right, so historical numbers, what this slide kind of does is represent to you over time that prices on average of a property tend to go up. And yes, there's inflation, cost of living, wage increases, all that stuff kind of flows with it. But over the last 42 years, historically, year over year, property average has gone up 4.86%. That's year over year. Making money, doing nothing. Building your wealth, doing nothing. Last 5 years, and even more in the past year really, 32% across 5 years, and 12% in the past year. That's crazy. That's just people putting money in their pockets, and all they're doing is owning their property, taking care of it, maybe even doing some upgrades, increasing that value even more. Sounds pretty good to me. Next slide. Rent. What is single rent for a military on Guam right now? 2205, right? It's going up and up and up. And since there's a lot of us, that drives the market price for our area. Maybe 5 years ago, a 2205 may have gotten you a pretty nice place. Now maybe it gets you an okay place because that rent price is getting driven up, right? So maybe something you want is a little bit nicer, you got to spend 23, 24, 25, who knows? Remember, that mortgage price, did it go up year over year? Nope, still staying the same. What's the BAH increase supposed to be for next year?
9%.
9%. So that's not even OHA, that's you go on to your next duty station, 9% increase on BAH.
Tax-free.
Because it's an allowance, right? It's not a pay. So anything that says allowance, we get tax-free. Anything that says pay, Uncle Sam gets a cut. Next slide. You're going to talk about the mortgage rates?
So as you can see in 2019, I want to bring this back to like a refinance. So you bought a house in 2019, your mortgage rate was over 5%. So 2021, you're like, dang, I see all these historical low rates. That's crazy. You refinance down to 2.9, actually there's lenders here that could do a 2.25 and you get a lender credit. So what this is basically saying is you buy a house now, you take out as much lender credit, so you have the daily rates. This is the day rate. You can get it 2.25 through PenFed. There's PenFed on Navy base, there's PenFed all across Guam. 2.25. You say, all right, what do I get for 2.25? The lender says, I'll give you $600. You could use that $600 towards closing costs, so that reduces your closing costs. So we'll go into closing costs a little bit later. Or you could say, all right, I know the daily rate's 2.25. What if I take a 2.375? He says, all right, cool. I'll give you $6,000 towards closing costs. So that means more money in your all's pockets. So more money in your all's pockets to do upgrades or whatever you guys want to do. Buy a new car, but hopefully not do that. Invest that money towards another property. So what that's doing is generational wealth, building that compounding interest, putting that money to work for you guys. So I want the military to be synonymous with the big real estate investors like Grant Cardone, Donald Trump, nice businessman, owns tons of properties. Grant Cardone spends all his money on investment properties and he just makes it hand over fist to buy more properties, buying 50-unit buildings. It's insane. So back to the interest rates. So this is giving you guys a tool in your toolbox to go to the lender, and when you guys are talking about rates, you say, all right, I know the daily rates, 225. What's a 2.5 going to give me? Because I don't have much for closing costs. What can you save me on closing costs? So 2.5, this is all examples. 2.5, I'll give you $10,000 to buy this house right now for a 2.5%. And then what you do, when you do that, you take that 2.5, you take that $10,000, and then 6 months down the road, you refinance to a 225, ultimately saving you on your mortgage payments, saving you all that cash benefits, all that money that you were stacking, but you gotta make sure you're comfortable with those mortgage payments. So that's my biggest thing as a real estate agent, as a loan officer. I say, all right, what credit are you comfortable with? What mortgage payments are you comfortable with? All right, well, let's go with that credit. And then you refinance in 6 months. No cash out, nothing, just straight up. If you guys have any equity in your house, which could be a possibility, you could also take out equity in your house at that point. Any questions?
Can you talk to us about the VA IRL?
Yes.
Versus the traditional refinance?
We'll do that when we do the funding fees. Okay, it's coming up, so I'll hold that question.
So Matt touched on this. So on Guam, take San Diego out, just take it out. We're here right now. This is where you're gonna make a lot of money. San Diego, you can make a lot of money too, but right now, we're specializing in Guam. So we're on an island. You know how much it costs to build a house? I tell you who does know, that man right there. It is not cheap. So once again, we're on an island, very limited supply. So very limited supply ultimately leads to high demand. Thank you guys. So the high demand, what does that do to home prices?
Shoots them up.
Shoots them up. But let's jump back. But if my interest rate is this low, I could afford that higher price. But once again, be knowledgeable. I hope I armed you guys with how to speak with lenders and how to get what you're comfortable with and then refinance later down the road. So houses are really affordable. You guys believe me?
Absolutely.
Your OHA speaks to that. So your OHA is the average mortgage payment of the island, of that area that you're in. So if you get 2205 or 2450, that's somewhat the average of this area. So mortgages are affordable. There's no crazy loans. So this kind of boils back to the 2007, 2008, where there was no regulations on the loans, and you're seeing no doc loans. You're seeing people that are unemployed getting loans. You were seeing people that had no business getting loans. So we're not going to have any of that. So any kind of economic crisis to housing, I don't see it. There's so much equity. So once again, what does this ultimately do to house prices? They increase. So what does that ultimately do for the homeowner? Gives them equity. So then they turn around and they refinance some equity out if they're in a pinch or if they have any kind of various issues going on. Next. Any questions? So this kind of looks at Matt's 40 properties. So say that Matt's 40 properties got a few, say he's got some in San Diego, he's got some in Guam, some in Virginia, some in Florida, some in DC. What do all these areas have in common?
Military.
They have military. So you say that Matt owns 38% of all the houses in that area, and then you have the military renters. That's all you guys renting from him. But let's switch that. You also have military also owning. So I also own a property management company in San Diego. We have quite a few houses there, and a lot of them are in this. They're military owned. And you know what else? They're also military rented. So I want to put you guys all in this category before you leave Guam. Because once again, when you rent to a military member, what do you have?
Guaranteed.
Exactly. And what can you guys may not know this, but you could dictate those prices as a landlord. On Guam, you could dictate those prices as a landlord. All right, I want that to kind of sink in. So you can dictate your prices as a landlord, and once you move off the island, you're just getting that money, no matter what. And then the rest of these privatized housings, and then you have military housings that possibly some of you may live in. So I hope to get you guys here at this 38%. Let's get you guys to that yellow zone. So our next on our agenda, how do I buy a home? How do we do this?
Oh, question time. I promise you, you're gonna get probably all of them right. And if you're at the Air Force training, you can't answer. Make it points. So true or false? I can only use my VA benefit for my first home.
False.
False. Go ahead. Next one, we're gonna circle back on these. I can't buy a condo. Yeah, it's kind of in the middle, but ultimately false. You can buy a condo with your VA loan. The seller won't accept my offer because they have to pay closing costs. What do you guys think?
False.
False. See a little trend here? Next one. My spouse's income can't be used to help qualify for the home we want. Man, you guys are good. Next one. I can't allow someone to assume my VA loan if they are not a veteran. There's a pattern. False. Next one. I can't get a house in one state and keep my occupancy in another state.
False.
Everybody.
False.
Nice. All right, let's go back to the top. I can only use my VA benefit for my first home. It's false because everyone in this room, once you meet the requirements to get a VA loan, you have a fixed entitlement, right? So what that means is it's guaranteed to you no matter what. On Guam, for a single family home, your entitlement is $822,000 for a single family. But did you know that you could buy up to a 4-unit building with your VA loan? And as those units go up, the loan entitlement goes up. 1.5 million on Guam. And just to sweeten the pot a little bit more, the loan officer, if those other units are rented out, can potentially take 75% of the rental income in those rented units and apply it towards your debt to income ratio. So it can count as income for you to qualify you for that property. That's crazy. And then you get a really good real estate agent that knows how to negotiate. They get you a good price, and then we jump into the second or the third one. The seller won't accept my offer because they have to pay closing costs. By law, the seller only has to pay your escrow costs, which is, depending on the area, $1,500 to $2,000, not much, and your termite/pest inspection, which is $100. So that's not a lot, right? In addition to that, we talked about the lender credits. Potentially, you get a good rate. Let's say they came back because it's a multifamily and said 2.75. My first house that I ever bought, 30 years, 4.5%. And I thought, I was like, oh man, this is awesome. VA loan, just paying a couple $1,000, got me a house, gonna paint the walls purple because that's my color, gonna get me a dog, gonna put a fence up, whatever I want because I control my house, right? They come back and say 2.75 and you're like, all right, let's see what the numbers look like on monthly payment at 3.25. Oh, it's only a $200 difference. This place is paying for me anyways. So you're gonna give me $10,000. So now I don't even ask the seller for a credit, so my offer is that much stronger. And now you just bought a 4-unit property with maybe no money out of pocket that's gonna pay your mortgage, you live for free, you bank that OHA, and you buy more properties. It snowballs from there. Yes, sir.
So I got a question. If you are looking to purchase a 4-unit property and it's over the cap of, let's say, Guam of 800,000, do you have to pay the difference? You have to put down the difference, or
it's actually a really good question and kind of loaded with multiple answers. So remember, the 4-unit goes up. It's actually 1.5. The Military Defense Authorization Act of 2019 changed the law starting January 1st, 2020. But if you have full entitlement, which means you don't have a loan out right now, You didn't, didn't come from Norfolk, Kings Bay, or wherever. You had a property there, it's still under your VA, and you moved here. You don't have anything out, right? No limit, as long as you can qualify for the mortgage. So it doesn't matter where you're at, there's no limit on the cap. If you have a property in another state or somewhere else, or even the same area, you PCS out, PCS back, and you have a loan out, the loan limits are in effect. So there's a little formula, a little table, but basically let's say you had a $300,000 house in Norfolk, Virginia, and you moved to Guam and it's 822. How much entitlement do you have left? About 500,000, right? So average sale price on Guam's around 420-ish now. So you could get that second property and use your second tier entitlement, which makes our first one false, right? So you can use it as many times as you want. You can use it over and over and over. We're going to talk about the funding fee and how that price changes a little bit. But yeah, you can have one in Norfolk. You can have one here. So moving from a low cost area to a high cost area is usually really beneficial for us using the VA loan because your cap goes up. In some areas it may only be 522. So you may have maxed it out already. You may only have a little bit. But to answer your question, Thomas, what are you doing right now?
So I'm currently using my second tier entitlement. So that second tier entitlement is what Matt was just talking about, referring to. So I have a condo in downtown San Diego I bought for $425, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. And I come here, $822,375. So I just have to pay 25% of the difference every dollar. So our down payment is roughly around $50,000. So you have that house in Kings Bay, San Diego, Norfolk, Jacksonville, wherever, then it changes. So whatever your home price was that you purchased it at, so if you purchased a house for $120,000 in Jacksonville, Florida, you can come here and you'll have right around $800,000. Just to zero down. This is all zero down. Anything over that is 25% of the difference.
And if you went, let's say you went Kings Bay, my first house was $135,000 to Norfolk, and you bought a $280,000 house, so now you're around $430,000, and then you move out to Guam, you still got that $400,000 left. Then you have 3 houses on your entitlement because your entitlement's fixed.
And it gets better. You get OHA with utilities, which we have a slide on.
Yeah.
You guys win. I'm excited for this one.
I can't buy a condo. So this one's important, and all this stuff that we're saying, all you have to do is Google it. Don't go to the first ones that pop up, the ads, the military one source is good. It's gonna kick you over. All they're doing is pulling the data from va.gov. You go straight to the va.gov websites, they lay all this stuff out for you, and it's really user-friendly. What your entitlements are. You type VA county loan limits. You're going to, Bremerton, Washington for your next duty station. You want to find out what county that is. You Google it, you look up the county on the VA website, it's going to give you. It's a whole PDF of every county in the country. And all you do is scroll down and find yours. You can see single family all the way up to fourplex. You're like, okay, I know that I bought this much here, so I know that I bought that much there. Good to go. If you need to use a hybrid product where you're kind of covering the difference on top, you can start planning for that. Easy day. All right, so back to the condos. Condos are interesting. So condos usually have what's called a, kind of like an HOA, like an association that manages the building. And you usually have what's called a common area fee, which means that you're paying a fixed fee every month for that pool, for those playgrounds and the building maintenance. And that goes towards your stuff, right? Well, that association that manages that condo building has to keep books, they have to keep records, they have to keep insurance, because you're paying for all that, right? So based on if they've met the requirements of the VA for cash reserves, for proper insurance out here, typhoon insurance is a big thing. So if they don't have that up, or even if they do maybe have the cash reserves, but their paperwork doesn't support it because they're behind, they can either be what's called additional docs required, which means they're gonna have to submit like real-time data, or they're fully verified and you can move right in. Does that make sense? And that's area to area. And again, those approved condos are on the VA website. All you gotta do is type it in, find your area, and you get the list. And then your lender should also be able to help you understand if they're additional doc or fully verified. And your real estate agent, if they're good and know what they're doing, should have that list as well. So all we do is reach out, look at the list every quarter to make sure nothing's changed, and then we're ready to go and we're showing our clients.
Let me touch on that.
Yep.
So if you also have a really good real estate agent, say you really like a condo, say in Dideto, you guys like a condo in Dideto, the building isn't VA approved. You get a good real estate agent that knows what they're doing, they could easily get that condo VA approved. And that manager will definitely be sending them a bunch of referrals. So if you guys like any kind of condos that are not VA approved, which I hope your agent is looking these up before they're sending it to you. I know that Modern Realty does that. So if you get sent a condo that you like, that didn't get scrubbed, that's not VA approved, and you really like it, talk to your real estate agent and see if they could get a VA approved for you. It's a little bit of work, so you gotta have a little bit of patience. Actually, you may have to have a lot of patience here on Guam. I'm not sure how lengthy that process would be, but in the States, it's like 2 to 3 months. And if you guys can hold off, really enjoy that condo, the sellers want to work with you, then stick with it. Let your agent know. And then I wanted to touch back on the rates. So there's county loan limits everywhere, and that's what the VA kind of structures all its loans from. So it takes an average of that, and say you in San Diego and you bought a house for $1 million. You're like, all right, cool, whatever, I got this money, I'll just buy this $1 million condo downtown, whatever. And then you guys come to Guam, prior to you moving, you're like, dang, I really want to free up my VA loan. So you can refinance out of your VA loan. So you can refinance out of your VA loan, and once you do that, once that loan closes, you have 100% entitlements, right there. 100% entitlements. Your VA funding fee is going to be a little different since it's subsequent use. Matt's going to go into that, but you can refinance out of your VA loan, and we're doing it for Jeff. Jeff's refinancing his condo back in Florida, so he's going to be opening up 100% entitlements out here to ultimately buy a house using that OHA. All right? Any questions?
Maybe I can talk about spousal income.
So your spouse's income. So the VA loan is residuals. It's based on what you bring in and what debts you have. So they take all of your debts and all of your income. And if it's over 60%, I'm sorry, no lender is going to lend to you guys. But if it's under that, you're good to go. So you'll be able to do that. So I often get that question, hey, my spouse doesn't make that much, or we got a lot of debt. Don't worry about it. If you guys have any outstanding debts, like a big car payment, or like a big outstanding credit card bills, or outstanding car payments, or anything like that, don't pay them off. I think we're going to touch on that later. We'll touch on that later on in the slide, but that's just so you guys know, your spouse's income does count towards your debt to income. It's income you're bringing in versus the debts that you have.
As long as they've been in the same field for 2 years. You always hear that 2 years, like 2 years, all kinds of stuff. 2 years, 2 years, 2 years. It's just something common number in real estate that always pops up.
I do have a question. How long until you can refinance your home?
6 months. So there's a cooling period, and they do that to benefit you guys and make sure the lenders didn't take advantage of you. So I'm arming you guys for all of that. So you'll be, once again, most informed decision with as much information that I can give you. If you have any questions, I'm here. Use me as a resource. So these are all the documents required. I often tell all my clients that I get, on the real estate side and on the loan side, it makes the loan side a lot more smooth for everyone. So I suggest when you guys go home, or whenever you guys get a chance, grab all these documents. I know the LESs, they change every 30 days. So minus that LES, make sure you go ahead and have everything in a folder on your desktop. And when you do decide to get pre-approved, then you already have this in a folder, ship it off to the lender. All these docs will get you pre-approved like that. And you'll know exactly how much you're able to purchase, the amount of house that you're able to purchase. Oh, you can go back? And everyone's getting these slides too, so you feel free to take pictures, but you guys are all getting the slides emailed. So all those documents, all your debt to income, that determines your VA eligibility. So with a good lender, they will be able to pull up your certificate of eligibility. And that's what tells us if you have 100% entitlements or 25% entitlements. So it all fluctuates with if you guys have any outstanding loans out, VA loans. And then your BH or OHA. So OHA here in Guam is insane. And then we'll definitely, so this is kind of touching back on, do not, if you guys have any outstanding debts that you're thinking about paying off, this could harm your credit score and this could kind of harm your debt to income ratio. So it could throw off your credit score. So if you are thinking about paying off a car, please see a loan officer or please speak with a professional that looks at these loans who don't want to mess with your credit score. Because anything over 720 gets the best rates. That's it. So if you're over 720, good to go. If you're under, let's work on it, get you up to that 720 so you guys get the best rates possible. Best credits and everything like that. And also, look at your relationship with yourself. Look at your financial relationship with yourself. Look at your financial relationship with your spouse. Look at all that and kind of drill it in. If you think that you're lacking in one area, have that discussion. Always kind of talk about money, because that's one of the biggest reasons why spouses get divorced, because they can't have that conversation about money. Maybe someone's leaning this way and someone's leaning that way. Come together about your financial situation, and this will ultimately be an easier kind of conversation that you guys will have over and over again, and then you guys will be like my wife and I, wanting to buy everything. So you guys will get there, and I'm gonna teach you guys how to do that. But once again, go home, do your current asset analysis, and see where you're at. See where you're at, because you do have to have some reserves when you're purchasing a house. All right, so this is that slide that I was pretty excited to talk about. So what if I gave you $100K to buy a house or give you your landlord? What would you guys do?
Buy the house.
Did you guys buy a house? All you guys in? Okay. So I don't know if there shouldn't be any E1s on that. So E2 all the way to E8 with dependents, you guys get all that. And after 3 years, what's that number say? 122. Is that a lot of money to you guys?
Yeah.
Would that be nice towards your mortgage, towards your equity, and towards your house payment, towards generational wealth? All right, cool. All right, so I'm glad we're understanding that. So this is what I don't want you guys to do. I don't want you guys to come here to Guam and just rent the entire time. Because look what you're throwing away after 3 or 4 years that you guys are here. You don't even want to see that 4 year. Just don't even want to put that on there. It's crazy. But I don't want you guys to throw away. This is all tax-free money, and this is the biggest thing. So you could pocket just about all of this if your house is equipped with, if you're not using a lot of electricity, if you're living frugally, if you're turning lights off. All this $959 all the way to $720. So you could pocket $500 or $600 of that. As long as you guys live frugally. And you want to touch on that?
Yeah. So I love this slide. We made this slide for you guys, but a lot of people ask me, so they have that renting mindset, right? When you have BH in the States, like we could transfer anywhere where we get BH, and you can move into a place the day you get there, right? You sign the lease, you grab your buddy, you're each getting $1,500 a month. You sign the place for $2,000, it's sweet, and you're pocketing that $500. It doesn't work with OHA, right? It's use or lose. So a lot of people say, well, if I buy a house, I can't make money off the OHA if it's less, right? It's actually untrue. And we often, even myself, $959 a month. My utilities are like $400 a month. So I make $559 a month. I use that for my internet, and then residual spending. You can pocket money on your OHA if you own it. How do you do it? Well, to determine how much you're eligible for, they use what's called equivalent rent. and it's based on a 10-year model. How many months are in 10 years?
120.
120. Who's got their phone out? Anybody? Let me bust up a calculator real quick. What's 2205 times 120?
264,600.
$264,600. So if you spend $264,000, and we said the average home price on Guam was about $420 right now, right? So you're pretty much going to do that. You get full OHA no matter what your mortgage payment is. $2,450. What's $2,450 times 120?
306,000. 306.
Try that again.
Yeah,
2,450 times 120?
Can you read that for me? Yeah.
It's actually 294,000, so I think there was a math error there. But 294,000, you're married, full entitlement. Dual military. When I see dual military, so military and military, they're married, and they come here and they rent, I'm just like, oh my goodness. It breaks my heart because it's double, 294 times 2, right? So what's that, 588? So they could buy a $600,000 house. And that 2.25% from Penn Fed, the taxes are the lowest in the world on Guam, property taxes. The house taxes are probably conservatively $1,000 a year, more likely like $700 a year. So we're talking $50 to $75 a month on top. Insurance, relatively cheap. Total cost, maybe $200 a month on top of their payment. So their mortgage for that $600,000 property is around $2,500 to $2,600.
I could tell you it's $2,600.
Yeah, he's actually buying the $600,000. $2,600. They're getting $4,410 plus. Actually, sorry, correction. One of them gets $2,450 and one of them gets $2,205. So they get $4,655 per month, banking $2K a month on their OHA. Plus, one gets $959 and the other one gets the $719 or whatever the current rate is for single. So it's $1,600 in utilities plus their $2K. There's no way their utilities are going to be $1,600 a month. So now they're getting closer to $3,000 a month pocketing. And now we're talking about almost a separate, consistent income of $36,000 a year. Starting to look real good, huh?
That's wild. I didn't
That's
even
on
know
top
that.
of that. That's on top of that. So they're paying that down because they're already getting that and then banking that money on top of that. So then when they leave, whether you decide to sell or rent, and we can have that discussion on the back end to start preparing you, you've probably paid down your mortgage $40,000. You've pocketed $40,000 a year. What's your tour here?
4 years.
4 years. Crazy, huh? What was the second slide? Education is power, right? Knowing all this stuff that's putting money in your pockets, you're building wealth hand over hand. Almost as much as we're making in the military, right? Crazy. Anything else for this slide?
I didn't know that. Once again, I've only been here for a month and kind of
Next slide.
learning. Oh, let me touch on that.
Okay.
All right, so we'll go back. What I'm hoping you guys realize from this slide, if you guys are dual military, you're getting all of that craziness, tax-free money, I hope that you would be saving that towards another property. So that could be, you could use one of your VA loans, rack up a lot of money, and then go to Jacksonville, go to another low-cost state, or do wherever you guys get transferred. Look for a lower-cost house, or don't. You have 25% of the difference of that price right there in your savings account. Hopefully in a higher interest-bearing account than your savings, which we'll touch on that later. Any questions? All right, cool. All right, so here's your credit report. This number should be changed. Anything under 600, no lender is we're gonna try and look at an analysis of your credit report, see what needs to be paid off or paid down, see what we could do to kind of better that. Something that I recently learned is that if you make multiple payments each month towards your credit card balance, it raises and increases your credit score. So if you're not making multiple, work on that. Maybe send one at the beginning of the month, send one at the 15th, however you guys want to structure that. Make multiple, because it shows a history of you're showing that you're paying down a sum, a larger sum, hopefully not. And then late payments, bankruptcies, anything like that you guys do have, bring it up to a loan officer, because you can't fool it full. We'll eventually find it out. And also, you can talk to it with your real estate agent. Hopefully they open you up and they get what they need, not necessarily out of you, but in order to help you better. So, not necessarily pay off any late payments. Talk to a loan officer, talk to a professional that kind of deals with this, and help better prepare you for home ownership and things like that. And just be once again, that financial, just be financially dependent, be financially stable, and make sure that you're honest with yourself, and just make sure you're paying on time every time. And yeah, I think that's it. So here's your income. You want to talk about this one?
Yeah, so you already hit on the debt to income 60%. That's your total expenses over your total income. We all know what our pays are, right? You're supposed to check your LES every month. Your supervisor is supposed to say, hey, check your LES. Is there any pay issues? Probably 70% of us in the room have pay issues because it's never right. So make sure you're following up on that stuff. Make sure the money you're supposed to have is you're getting it. Because it's going to be considered. They're going to want your last two LESs like we talked about, and usually you may hear the term from the lender called statement of service, where they're going to ask you to go to your personnel people and lay out those entitlements, right? They're supposed to be getting these pays, they balance it against your LES, yep, everything's there, looks good, they come up with your DTI. As a veteran, maybe you don't have that guaranteed income, maybe you're on disability, maybe you have a new job, maybe you retired. All those pays come into play. We talked about rental income and business income. 2 years. You need 2 years history for your rental property to start counting towards your income. Up to that point, if it's not on your tax for the past 2 years, they'll count it as a debt instead of an income. And after those 2 years, they use that 75% that we talked about. So you're renting the place out for $1,000 a month. You've been doing that consistently for 2 years. Now you're a responsible landlord. So now they give you $750 income on top of all your stuff. Keep building, keep building, keep building. All those new properties now all count as income. Business income, if anyone ever starts a business, good on you. I'm super happy for you. Make sure you keep very strict records. Learn what a profit and loss statement is. Keep it up to date. Keep an account that you only use, your income and expenses go into that one. And then that profit and loss statement, it's all up to date. You've been keeping good records. When they ask for it, write to them, good to go. Even though I'm still in the military, I'm trying to buy a property right now with my VA loan, and the loan officer wants Modern Realty's profit and loss. Well, my wife does a great job. She keeps it all up to date, so all I had to do is press print, send it right to him, and we're good to go. Good record keeping, keep that folder on the desktop like he was talking about, and understanding what your pays are. If your pays aren't right, make sure you get them up to date, because all that helps this overall score of your DTI, helps your credit score, you're paying off all your bills, getting that good credit score, which overall gets you a lower cost loan because you're getting the best rates, which allows you to afford more house for the same price that your buddies are paying for a less house. Does that make sense? Next slide. All right, so although many VA loans can be closed without bringing money to the table, sometimes available money in your bank account could be required. Lenders look for large monies in and out, and what that number is varies lender to lender. Could be $500, could be $1,000, whatever it is, you gotta explain where it came from or where it went. So you're like, hey, my real estate agent told me I needed $3,000 for closing based on the stuff that we went over. So I'm gonna have that yard sale this weekend, selling the dirt bike that I haven't rode for years. My buddy gave me $2,500 and I just deposited that cash into my account. And then you send the statement to the lender, they're gonna be like, hey, where'd that $2,500 come from? Because what they're trying to make sure is that you didn't go out and take a loan to pay your bills and it just hasn't reflected on your credit report yet, right? Because that affects your DTI. All that stuff comes back. Retirement accounts. your TSP, your IRAs, all that stuff can be used to show liquidity. Cash reserves, as you start getting more and more properties, sometimes they want to see a couple months cash reserves. So for that $1,000 rental, they may want to see 6 months cash reserves in the bank for it. So you got to have $6 grand sitting somewhere, right? And that could be counted in your TSP, in your IRA. And then again, if you've been saving money, you've been doing your matching and all that stuff, you can take a loan against your TSP for the purpose of buying a home. And then when you pay it back with that interest goes back to your account. So there's a lot of ways to skin the cat. There's a lot of ways to find the money to get the deal done, to get you to the closing table. And that's why it's important to work with a professional that understands all that stuff. All right, so we talked about retirement, investment account. Any questions on your assets?
So could you take a loan out of your TSP and use that for closing costs?
You could take out up to 50K of your TSP, and yes, you can. It just shows reserves. And you could take it out to fund your closing costs as well. And once you said, the good thing about it, you're paying yourself that interest. Which is insane.
But we also, when he talked about the refinance, we could do the math on, is it more beneficial to take that higher rate short term to get you into the property, and then you come back later and do the VA IRL, which we're going to talk about, which is a very simple refinance to get your interest rate down. It's called the interest rate reduction loan, and it's a VA product for us. And all you do is restart your 30 years and they drop the rate. And usually you can get everything paid for in that because it's a simple product. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Cool. Next slide. Can we talk about this?
Yes. All right. So you get pre-approved. So all those documents that you send to the lender, you're good to go. Next step, meet a real estate agent, or vice versa. You meet a real estate agent, hopefully they set you up for success and send you straight to a good loan officer that has your best interest in mind and doesn't charge you outrageous origination fees. So we'll talk about origination fees here in a little bit. But so you're going home shopping, you got pre-approved for $600K here in Guam. So prior to that, you sent all your documents to the lender. You met a great real estate agent. His name is Matt Strickland or Modern Realty. They have all great agents here in Modern Realty. They take you home shopping. You find a great house. Your agent talks to you about how you structure your offer to get it accepted. All right, so it's a seller's market. So no closing costs unless the property's been sitting on the market a long time, which your agent will have a good point in whatever they say. Do it. Take their advice. Don't think that they're just telling you to do something because you want to get your offer accepted. You really like a house. Take their advice and go with it. As long as you're comfortable, let them know, hey, I'm comfortable with this amount. This is the reserves I have. Always be open with your real estate agent. Always be open with your loan officer. So you find a house, you're starting to make an offer. So the first thing that's on this RPA, so residential purchase agreement, is the earnest money. So earnest money is typically 1% of the purchase price. I've written a $500 earnest money deposit. This is something that comes out of your pocket within the first 3 days of acceptance. So you get your offer accepted, you go into this thing called escrow. So escrow is an intermediary against the sellers and you. And this is one of the first things that comes out of your account first. You either wire it or here they like cashier's checks. So you take that to title, they deposit, you get a receipt. Done. So first things, check. Inspections. So this is the next, there's 3 contingencies in buying a house. So you have the physical contingency, which is this, and this is when you hire a home inspector to come out and go through the entire house. So you hire this home inspector, he comes out, it takes half a day to do it, good. So you want him to find as much stuff so you can go back to the sellers and say, hey, I want this repaired, this is an active leak, this is for you to take care of, you either fix it or we go. Whatever you guys agree upon, if it's a habitability issue, they have to fix it per VA. So VA has a ton of guidelines, a ton of restrictions, and if they're not willing to fix that, then I'm sorry guys, can't go forward with that house. So you come back to the sellers, they accept everything, you guys are good to go, dude, boom. Physical contingency is removed. So the next contingency is the appraisal contingency. So this is when the loan officer hires a third party to go out and evaluate the entire area. So they determine your price and everything like that. 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom, they look at all the similar houses around the area that are very common to that house. So hopefully you guys will have equity in your house at that point. So you offer $300K on this 3-bed, 2-bath house. The appraiser comes back and says, oh, it's actually worth $450. You ultimately have $150,000 in equity. So you could take that out after 6 months. We'll get to that later. And then the final contingency is your loan contingency. So all those documents, get them to the lender as quickly as possible so you can get that loan approval and get this wrapped up and knocked out within, I guess it's 2 to 3 months here. So hopefully if you get everything going, all into the lender, they get that loan approval, get in that house within 2 months, good to go. Start up that generational wealth, start hitting that equity, start doing those upgrades. Get you a dog, paint your house, whatever you guys want to do. So these kind of boil back. I really like this slide as a lender because I hate seeing other lenders taking advantage of military members. You guys defended this land. You guys should not have to jump through hoops and pay outrageous fees to own a piece of it. So lender fees goes as this. When you get a loan estimate, so you make an offer, you get it accepted. Within the first 3 days of that contract, your loan officer will send you a loan estimate. On this loan estimate, you'll see a breakdown of all these funds, and one's an origination fees. You don't want to see any origination fees when you look at that loan estimate. If you do, you call me, you say, hey, Thomas Payne said to take that shit off. Or call Matt and tell him to. Maybe more tactful. So the next one is, this is all your escrow fees, your title fees. These are stuff you cannot shop for. So this is all included in your closing costs. And then your prepaids, like your HOA payments, you pay a certain amount of months for your HOA payments, you pay a month of mortgage, and you pay a full year of your insurance. So this all kind of goes into your closing costs, and that's your closing costs broken down. Any questions?
And you said the seller has to pay that, right?
It depends. So the way your offer's structured, so if your agent says in your contract, seller pays 100% of escrow and title fees, or seller pays 50-50. However they structure your offer, you guys will go line item by line item if you want to. You can have your real estate agent explain line item by line item so you're comfortable with what you're asking for.
So it's all negotiation.
Exactly. Everything's negotiable. Anywhere and anytime. All right, so here's your, this is called a CD. So you see your deposit, so this is your earnest money. You can commonly hear it as earnest money deposit, your initial deposit, and then we talked about this. Can someone explain a lender credit to me?
Oh, sorry, I don't know.
All right, explain a lender credit.
Isn't it depending on your interest rate that you can get a certain amount of credit from your lender to use as a down payment or to use as a loan?
Exactly. So you could use this lender credit. So you take that higher rate, so the daily rate, 225. You say, all right, cool. I don't want the 225. I need a little bit of cash. Was that 235? Okay, cool. 7K? All right, cool. I'm good with that. So then your total to buy a house, you're getting paid $1,500, but you don't get that cash. You can either use that money towards paying off credit cards, paying off a vehicle, paying off any other loans, outstanding debts that you have. You cannot get this, but you can.
So how would that actually work? Would you tell them what account you want to send to, or okay?
Exactly. So escrow will contact you, or title will contact you and say, hey, you have a refund of $1,500. How would you like to apply this? Something along those lines.
Do you also negotiate the lender credit during the pre-approval?
Once you get your offer accepted.
Offer
So
accepted.
once you get your offer accepted, that's when you go to the lender. Your real estate agent will send it all over to your lender. Hey, we got this accepted offer, and then call them. If they don't call you, call them. Get that rate, whatever that rate is. Don't wait. Don't float. So, all right. Don't float your rate. So I don't like talking bad about other lending institutions, so I won't. But if someone asks you to float your rate, call me, call Matt. Don't do it, because it's going to charge you each month that you float that rate. They're getting paid points on your loan, which costs you. And there's also lender fees involved. What I say about lender fees? Don't need them. Get a question?
So the line of credit, the amount, that's pretty much what they giving us to put on the house.
Correct. So you could either get a lender credit or you could get a seller credit, depending on how, I'm not going to say how good your real estate is at negotiating, but how your offer is structured. So you could get a few different credits. So you can get a seller's credit, which I've done. So beginning of this year, I offered on a $510,000 house. These people are going through a divorce. If you guys can find a house that someone's going through a divorce, they're really needing to get rid of it. So they can't agree on anything. So you can, I know it's sad, but it's true. All right. So have these financial talks with your spouse. Have these financial talks, because it can and it will happen if you don't. Possibly not. Hopefully not. All right. But back to that. So you can negotiate a seller credit to cover any kind of closing costs. But once again, very far and few in between. But I negotiated $10,000 in seller credits because they're going through divorce and they're like, I need to get rid of this. I'm done. We didn't hear from the spouse for like 5 or 6 days. The husband was making all these decisions, and the loan officer was like, no, I'm sorry, we need both y'all's signatures on this paper. So kind of capitalize on that if you guys see that. But you could also have a seller credit, lender credit, and they all can go towards buying down towards that closing cost. Yeah.
So I have a question about that initial deposit. So does that go towards the house?
It does.
Okay.
So it could go towards your closing costs, or if you have this amount, it comes right back to you.
So you can get it back if you want to close it?
Yes, that is the only thing that you can get back.
It's what you're putting at risk to say that you're interested in the property. And those 3 contingencies that we talked about are essentially your outs to get it back. So if you broke the contract just because you didn't want it and you didn't meet those requirements, that's the money that you're putting at risk.
So it just solidifies or legitimizes the offer.
Exactly. So this is your skin in the game for the sellers taking their home off the market for you. So you really like this property.
Yeah, so when you talk strength of offers and strategies, I actually want to do a separate class on like writing a purchase agreement and then, how you can strategize stuff, because let's say you asked for a $10,000 seller credit. Well, if I came right behind you with my client, we didn't ask for one for the same price, whose offer is stronger? So now you're strategizing between your lender, your seller, to get you into the home while still having a really strong offer, right? Because right now it's super competitive and there's a lot of different ways to win, if you will. Multiple offer situations, and so you have to come up and get that a real conversation with your real estate agent, with your lender, and then with yourself to say, am I giving my best offer up front? I get a lot of clients to say, hey, I want to come in low, just see what they say, and we gotta have that hard conversation, like, no, it's not gonna work. If you want this property, I need to know what the best offer is, and here's what I recommend. We do this, 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 and this. And if we do these things, I think we got a 90% shot of getting this one. You know what I'm saying?
So is there a way to know what the other offers are? Because I recently submitted an offer for a home, and I got rejected, but I'm just trying to figure out why I got rejected. Maybe is it because they offered up? Because I offered at list price.
So your agent could ask if on Guam you got rejected.
No, I'm PCS in the month. So
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And it's really if the other agent will tell you. I mean, don't have to. Ethics involved. Really, you're not supposed to tell you.
Because it's kind of difficult gauging like what I should throw out there.
That's why you need to get a good agent.
Yeah.
And you need to get a good agent. You need to let them know this is what I want. These are my timelines. So So anytime that you speak to an agent, let them know your timelines. Hey, I want to be in a house tomorrow. I want to be in a house in 2 to 3 months. I want to be in a house in a year, next year.
And it's best to let them know like what I'm willing to, I guess.
Whatever your situation is.
Yep. And then if you didn't get it, think about what you could do better next time. Like what was something that you had in there that maybe you could have done different, you could have done more, you could have done less. It's all strategy. So our next workshop, I think, like we've been talking about what we want to do next, and one of the things I want to do with you guys is a strategy of offer workshop to where you start understanding like how to win in this game, because it is tough and very competitive because that low inventory, high demand, right? So everyone's trying to get the same house that you are. So you got to do something different, better, and stronger than they are to get to the property.
It'd be nice to have this. I need that.
It's gonna be a live stream, so you can always watch it too. Anything else in this?
Boils down to relationships. So hire a good agent. You hire a good agent that's knowledgeable in that area, that knows everybody, then they can find out that information. They can tell you, or not, or your offer got accepted over someone else's. Hire a good agent. It's all about relationships. It's always about the back end. So just be flexible and be coachable from your agent. Be receptive.
Sure. But what if I'm PCSing in 2 years? Should I still consider buying a home? What do you guys think? What was 2 years in money on the screen before? 80 grand, right? We asked if you had over 100, if you give it to your landlord to keep it for yourself. Is 80 still good enough for you? Because it sure as heck good enough for me. Like I'll put 80,000 in my pocket. And it's the same thing, right? I told you about my Coast Guard buddy. His property appreciated $100,000 in 18 months. And he sold it, and after all his costs, he walked away with like 82 grand. It can happen. And maybe you turn that into the investment property. So now you hit that 2-year living in it mark. And what happens at 2 years when you sell your property? You've lived in it 2 of the last 5 years. Remember we said that earlier? 250, 500, right? Keep that stuff in line.
Capital gains.
It's a game changer. It really is.
I have a question about that. Say you PCS, but you still have that property. Even when you hit that 2-year mark and you choose to sell, you still need to keep that.
Yeah, so there's actually caveats in the chapter for capital gains for your private residence, and there's a military section. And that's when like we want to bring in, I don't want to give tax advice specifically, but bringing in, start building that team out, your CPA or accountant or whoever you talk to. Even if you use TurboTax and stuff, pay the $100 for the fee, and they give you the person that reviews all your stuff. Like that thing is where you want to start getting in there. You can go read the rules, and it gives you caveats. We get orders. We got ordered away, right? There's nothing we can do about that. And you can even extend that 2 out of the 5 years out 10 years more on top. So you could be at your like 14-year mark for that property, still sell it because you lived 2 out of your last 5, but you got ordered away. There's so many advantages that we can take if you know what's going on in the game and you know the rules and you keep up on them, and you have a mentor or a friend or a mastermind, or a group where you just ask the questions and see what people say, and then you go verify the information yourself using those source places, VA.gov and IRS. The IRS chapters are not that complicated. It says, if you own the home for 2 years and you did this, this, and this, you get to do this. Like it's not rocket science, it's not complicated. And you just go to your CPA, your accountant, say, hey, I saw this, am I understanding it right? And they go, yeah, you're on the ball, or actually it means this, you need to do that. Start building that wealth, man. Next slide. What is the right next step? All right, so we covered why should I consider buying the home, talked in depth on how do I buy it. We didn't go into super detail on the strategies, we're gonna do that in a separate session. But what is the right next step? 3 steps to buying. Understanding the power of the VA benefit, right? You gotta get pre-approved. I tell all my clients, hey, I can't show you properties until we get you in front of a lender. Because you don't wanna go looking at that $1 million house, you only get approved for 600. But now you guys have that education, you know what your benefit is. And you know if you came from this duty station and you use this much, you're just gonna search Guam VA county loan limit and you're gonna get that 822 and you're gonna subtract it out. So I should have around 500K left. When we go talk to my loan officer. We build a team of professionals. I got properties in 5 different states. My team consists of real estate agents, property managers, and contractors. and I interview the crap out of them. I trust my team, I build them out, and then you start pushing all that work down so that you can focus on what you want to focus on and building your scale. Get pre-approved, not just pre-qualified. So there are lenders, they can actually start underwriting your loan while you're shopping. You're getting in all those docs in, they're looking at your stuff, you're answering the questions, you're giving the letters of explanation. You sold your dirt bike, you write it up, hey, I sold my dirt bike, the model number was this, here's my bill of sale, you attach it to it, you send it to the underwriter, that's already off your report. So when your commitment letter comes out, the appraisal's good, you're ready to close, right? Run your credit report. What's the way that we get our credit report for free every year?
Credit card.
Free credit.
No, not Credit Karma. There's only one government sanctioned agency, annualcreditreport.com. So Credit Karma may give it to you for free as an incentive, but then you're going to start getting slammed with all those, you know, hey, sign up for our service. We have a lot of people in the loan officers get it all the time. They say, hey, my credit report on Credit Karma is, you know, 812, when in actuality, the risk score is significantly lower than that. So use the government-backed service. They have to give you that stuff, and then understand what your report's going on and monitor it, right? 3 agencies. You can get each one for free every year. So you can split that up. First trimester of the year, you grab one. Second one, you grab the other one. Third one, you grab the other one. It should be pretty consistent, but you can always see in your report, right? You always know what's going on. And then we actually got, we should get free monitoring from when our whatever it was got hacked from a while back, right? That All Nav came out and says that you can get free credit monitoring. So yeah, if you don't have that, talk to your chain of command. They should be able to hook you up. Complete VA loan analysis and receive initial approval through automated underwriting. Automated underwriting, can you speak on that? Yeah. That's not my avenue, so I'm turned over to Thomas.
So as long as you have all of your docs, everything looks good on the loan side, then you have to send it to underwriter. This is a animated machine that just goes all the way through all the documents that you send them, checks all the I's, looks at all the T's and everything like that. And as long as you get the green light on that, it's pretty quick and you're quick to close, just like that. So as long as everything matches up to what you submitted, your debt to income's under 60, credit score's over 600, then you can possibly get that DU underwriter green light. Streamlines the rest of the process. Is pretty good.
See, I didn't even know that.
Step 2, this is the biggest one. Get you a good real estate agent. Matt over here kills it. Once again, I want to touch on his interviewing process. He kind of downplayed it a little bit. Since I've been here, he's interviewed 4 or 5 people for us, one role, and I'm sure that's just the surface that I'm talking about. And he asked them all different questions. I encourage you to ask him or ask any agent that you're interviewing, ask them questions. Know that they're this area, their strength. Know that if you want to purchase an investment property, know that they have a good investment property background and any kind of knowledge that they have, take it, digest it. If you have any questions, ask them. I encourage you to ask questions. Make sure that that agent's a good fit for you. Look at homes within your means. So if you want to buy a house at $822,000, go for it. But I'm going to encourage you not to do that. I want you guys to keep as much money in your pocket as possible, unless your plans are to refinance out of it after you've been here for your tour. Refinance out of it, open up your VA entitlements again, and then go elsewhere. It's kind of difficult unless you're going to a very low-cost state to purchase another house. Super competitive. All over the United States, seller's market, Guam included. Complete all your inspections, ask seller to do necessary. So, the renovation loan, you want to touch on that one?
Yeah, so it's actually pretty cool. When COVID hit, almost a year and a half ago now, a VA circular came out. A VA circular is like a flyer. And it comes out and says, hey, here's what's going on. Here's things that we're seeing. Here's a new rule. Kind of like a memo or an instruction, right? anyone that works in the VA circle, a lender, underwriters, they have to meet those guidelines. And if the guidelines are defined in the circular, they got to meet those too. So about a year and a half ago, they took away the VA renovation loan in the circular. Well, just a couple months ago, they canceled that circular, which brought the VA renovation loan back. So when Hillary and I, my wife, our first house that we bought together, we did a 203K renovation loan. I didn't know about the VA renovation loan because I didn't have a mentor that told me. So basically what that product does is allows you to buy a property that's distressed. You get a contractor, you build out your scope of work, and the money that's going to cost you to do the remodel is put into a single loan. So I bought the house, I think, for $115,000. Excuse me. We did a $60,000 reno. So when we closed, they paid the seller the $112 or $115K. They put the $60,000 into escrow. And as the project proceeded along, we were able to make draws on that money. And that paid for my materials, paid for my project, all that stuff. And then when we were done, it's a high cost loan. It cost me money. I had like a 4.5% interest rate. We went to refinance and the property was worth $50,000 more than that 170. So we then converted it to a conventional product, went from a 30-year to a 15-year, from 4.5% interest with excuse me, mortgage insurance. We went down to the 15-year. Interest rate I think was 2.75. Our payment went up $40. We shaved 15 years off the mortgage, right? So the VA has a similar product where if you buy a property in distress up to $50,000, you can put into escrow for renovation of the property. Now there's some legwork. You got to find a contractor. You got to get the scope of work. You got to submit all that. It's possible you may have to get them approved by the VA. The process takes a couple weeks. It's fairly easy. And then a VA home inspector certified by HUD comes out, and there's only 2 of them on island. I happen to be one of them because I love that stuff. But it's a product that you can use that a lot of people don't know about, and it's a single closing. So you renovate your property with money that they're giving you to do it for. You're putting equity into your property, and you can do that 6-month refi out, possibly, that you could take money out. You never know.
I do have a question about that. So what if it's like a slightly not moving ready home? Like, I don't know, it's missing a refrigerator or the kitchen isn't finished. Like, is there a stipulation that have to be over a certain amount of renovations? Or?
So just because, it's an interesting question. So this question is basically, is there a minimum amount? So the VA gives guidelines on what has to happen, and lenders come up with a product that meets the initial guidelines, and then stuff on top of that could be lender to lender specific. So you may find a lender says it's got to be at least a $10,000 renovation for them to engage on it. So that specific question is kind of hard to answer because you got to find the product that matches. Another specific example is, I didn't know this till last year. I was in a mastermind, we were talking about some stuff. I went and looked it up and verified it. It was NVA.gov specifically. How many unit building can you buy with your VA loan? 4, right? What happens when you hit 5 units?
That's becomes commercial.
It becomes commercial property, right? Building here that the entitlement increases. They kept only approving him for the single family cap. So we went to a different lender that was willing to listen. We walked them through the process. They called the manager and the underwriter, and they were like, yeah, he's right, we can do that. And they increased the property out, and he's getting it for nothing out of pocket, when the other lender was telling him he was gonna have to put that 25% down. That makes sense? So not just because the stuff's out there and you know it, and you've been doing all these trainings and masterminds and getting your education up, not everyone is an expert. And actually, most people aren't experts, even some of the people that you think should be, right? So you gotta find the people that know how to do it, and if they're telling you no, and it just feels like, I don't understand why, it says right here that I can do it, go ask someone else. Interview multiple lenders, interview multiple real estate agents, and find the people that know how to do what you wanna do.
That boils down to the first one. Interview. Next one.
Yeah, so most contracts, state to state, it's all different, but you have the right to do a final walkthrough of the property. And that's to make sure, you know, the light bulbs and the ACs weren't taken out and it's all gone. Like everything that's supposed to be there is still there. There's not a huge hole in the roof because the tree fell on it last weekend, right? So you do that final walkthrough, you scheduled your closing, you sign all your documents. If there's any money required to be put down, you'll get, same instructions that you got for the deposit potentially. Bring it to your escrow, close, move into your home, get your dog, paint your wall blue, whatever you want to do, right? And then you're done. And then you start figuring out how to start the process all over again. Next slide. Back to know your position.
All right. How do you guys feel about your position now and being more knowledgeable about the home buying journey?
It makes sense to buy, to own. You're getting too much to waste. And time is gonna pass by regardless, so you might as well take advantage.
Absolutely. Who's buying in Guam? Where's these hands at?
Only reason I'm PCS in California
When?
next year, October.
You got a year here, man.
Me and my wife already kind of like
All right.
discussing it. We like,
You got a plan. That's good. I respect that. So I hope I was able.
Would you recommend that if you had a year left on Guam to just go ahead and buy? Or do you think that you need a little more time?
If I had a year left on Guam, would I buy? Absolutely, I'd buy. And those numbers that you guys currently have in those packets show that. So out of that year, I think the annual was like $40,000. That's good on your equity right there. That's guaranteed money. That's going there straight to you. And then you get the utilities. Otherwise, you're going to be throwing that $40,000 towards a landlord, making them rich.
Let me ask you something. A year ago, were you the same person that you are right now?
Yeah.
2 years ago, were you the same person that you were a year ago? Right, we learn, we change, stuff happens. I took 3-year orders here. And a year out, we already owned, but we thought we were leaving.
When was that?
2.5 years ago. So then, 6 months out, we were like, hey, it makes sense for us to stay. Let's request to extend. And then we extended for a year. And that was a year ago. And now we're still here 6 months after that. So now I've been on Guam 4.5 years. Thanks for coming out, brother. We'll see you.
no problem.
And we thought we were here for 3. So if I would have been that year out and wouldn't have bought, I've now been here 2.5 years since that same point. You never know what's going to happen. Like, your orders can change, life can happen. If you own the home, you own it. No one can take that away from you.
Put yourself in a successful position. What would you want to look back and see that yourself did? And if that's owning a home, own that damn home and own it. Get in there, put your upgrades in, build that equity. Use whatever entitlements that you get, pay that down. That's future generation. That's wealth later down the road. Me, my dream was to have as many investment properties to pay my current mortgage that I'm living in. I achieved that and more. So now I'm able to, basically I'm financially independent. I don't have to sell another house. I don't have to do another loan if I don't want to. That's the power of real estate. I didn't gain all this knowledge overnight either. It took me a long time to gain what I know. I want to be like him. I want to have 40 properties. Do I need it? No, but my kids might. I want to be handing down my kids these homes. I want to be handing down my grandchildren these homes. That's the power that I want to have. I love providing shelter to people too. I love being an essential person to someone's livelihood. Them coming to me, hey, can I live in your house? People fighting over it. That's the common ground that you have as a landlord. You have people fighting over your property. Put yourself in that position. You'll succeed. If that's your goals. So this boils back to what Matt was speaking about. Hire those teams of professionals. Hire your real estate agent. Hire that lender. Matt Strickland right here. He's your guy for Guam. Interview him. If you're not vibing well with him, interview someone else in his brokerage. I guarantee you'll find someone that you're vibing with. Do that. It'll ultimately make the whole process a lot more enjoyable, a lot funner. And you'll learn something. Everything's a learning experience. Learn from your mistakes, look for failures. Fail a lot, but overcome those failures with success.
Pretty cool. My first realtor 8 years ago, she's still a family friend. She came to my commissioning, she came to our wedding. And Hillary and I talk to her all the time. So what started as an initial business relationship blossomed into something more. And now, not only do we communicate on a personal level, but she knows what I want for properties. And if something comes up, I wake up in the morning and it's in my Facebook. Look at Matt, you need to look at this. So I don't even have to do anything to find properties. My team that's out there does it for me. And that took time and I built it up, but super awesome to know her. And it all started from a text message like, hey, I'm moving to Kings Bay, can you help me find a house? So,
create those relationships. All right, for you guys attending, it's a brokerage offer that we're going to give you guys, an incentive for coming tonight.
yeah, so for the month of September and for attending tonight, that's online and here, I will reimburse at your close of escrow if you buy a property on call, both your home inspection and your appraisal, up to $1,100.
Now who wants to buy a house?
And then, you got the next slide, I think it's the Q&A. Yeah, so now we're to the Q&A. The one slide that I want you to throw over is the funding fee from the bottom left. So we did have a question about the funding fees. Yeah, I'll throw it up. So the funding fee, we talked about putting 20% down if you're conventional mortgage or refinancing out of it. In the conventional world, if you don't put enough money down, which is usually 20%, your skin in the game, they charge you what's called mortgage insurance. So depending on the type of loan, that could be the life of the loan, or when you hit that 80% loan to value, so now you have 20% equity, you can get out of it. Well, the VA doesn't have mortgage insurance, but what they do have is it's called a funding fee, and they charge you that up front. So what lenders are allowed to do is they're allowed to basically fund up to 104% of the property. So one of the things they can do is put your funding fee on top of your loan. Or you could pay it, or you could use some of the credits they're getting to get that stuff down. There's a lot of different ways to skin the cat, but you're always gonna get charged this stuff. The first time you ever use it, and this went up last year, it used to be I think 2.15, now it's 2.3%. So every $100,000, that's $2,300 that they're charging you up front, right? The second time you use it, 3.6%. So that's when you said the word subsequent use. So the second time you used your loan, it's now 3.6%. And then this 5% down, 10% down, in strategizing your plan, I usually don't ever recommend the 10% down for the VA because most likely the property is going to appreciate and you can hit that anyways. But sometimes 5% down makes sense, especially on the subsequent use, because that's a 2% different. So it comes down to a math game. I just had a buddy, he bought a house that was over 600,000 and he's going to get charged 3.6%. So it's almost 20 grand, right? Well, when he put down 5%, that 2% savings is almost $13,000, right? So it made sense for him to do that, and he was able to do that. So we structured the offer to save him money over time and save him money on his funding fee. And the super cool thing, when you get out, if you get a disability rating of 10% or greater, fee is waived.
Oh, that's insane. No, oh, go ahead.
Matt, if I could just add on to about your time frame or your timeline, starting young. I bought my house in 2003. I was 27. I just paid it off last year. I did a refinance cash out, and now I'm looking to purchase, and that will go to my kids. So exactly what Matt and Tom had mentioned. You want to do it as early as you can, your investment. You gain so much equity you put into your real estate, your kids, you have, you plan to have children or already have, that's for their future. So yeah, I definitely, I'm experiencing that right now.
So many cool
And glad I
things.
started that early.
How much does an hour of your time cost if somebody just wanted to pick up check?
You just took an hour of my time. I didn't charge you.
No, just individually one-on-one. All right.
Come in and chat. We'll free resources.
All right.
I met, so Thomas found me, I think, on Facebook or the internet or something, and he was messaging me one night, like 7:30-ish. I had baby Matt in my arms trying to text him one-handed. He's asking me all these real estate questions, and I'm like, who is this guy? Like very expert level knowledge type questions. And I was like, are you on an island? He's like, yeah. I think he had a California number. I was like, can you come by the office tomorrow? And he's like, what's a good time? And he came by at 10:30, and these type conversations, the mastermind groups, the lives, everything you can get into, it was like 3 hours later, and everyone in the office was like, y'all gonna do any work today? We were just going, I didn't throw this out at the beginning, I forgot to, but it's one of my favorite lines. They say you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, right? So when you surround yourself with those like-minded people that are trying to do the things that you're trying to do to make yourself and your lives better for you and your family, it just starts happening. It's like magic. You will it into existence.
Crazy story. He literally came over to my place on Wednesday. We were coming here Friday. I was like, yo, I'm really looking in real estate. Thursday, he finds out that you're coming to, and then Friday we end up there.
Manifested.
And then now we're here a week later. So I really believe that, surrounding yourself by like-minded individuals.
Do we get any live questions? Okay. We go ahead and end our live. Yeah, so what else do you guys want to talk about?
Oh, how did you scale so fast? 7 years, 40 properties, that's crazy.
Most of it, so when I came to Guam in 2017, we only had 6.
Mhm.
So we had our house in Jacksonville. I had a property that I had in Kings Bay. I had three townhomes. No, sorry, we had 5 properties, dang. I had a single family, a triplex, and a single family. While I was on deployment in Singapore in 2019, the ship pulled in. I was structuring the deal from Australia. I sold my investment property, and I did what's called a 1031 exchange, which allows you to use the cash proceeds from one property to immediately replace it with another one, and you don't get subject to tax to capital gains. So I bought a duplex with that. So I went from -300 on the single family that had a bunch of equity that I'd used my VA on, and then put a renter in there when we left. So it paid down a lot. I think I owed like 140. I sold it for 250. So after expenses, I had like 90 grand. We applied that towards a duplex. I went from -300 to plus 1,000. So that was a $1,300 a month swing. So now I had 6. I had a friend of mine, I don't even know how I met him, just chance stuff. Saw that I was posting real estate, construction type things, and he goes, hey, I started an investment group in Indiana. Would you help me get it up and going? And I was like, sure. So we started, putting stuff out in the group. We bought, he's like, hey, I know about properties, but I don't have experience in construction. You want to partner up? And that was like the breaking of the egg, right? That changed my thing, because I never partnered with anyone before. I always did everything myself. I was a control freak. I wanted to control everything. And as I started relinquishing that control, relinquishing the total money that I was putting into projects, splitting it with other people, we started doing more and more and more. Because now this guy was running the project for me. I was just telling him what to do next. Like, hey, next they need to fix the electrical, and then the drywall goes up, or before the drywall goes up, we need to call in the inspection. The inspector is going to come out, he's going to sign off on the paper that I showed you. He puts that there, then you can tell the guys to put the drywall up. Next we do the paint. I ran the project through him and taught him. He brought me the deal, right? I didn't even have to go searching for it. So we did what's called the BRRRR method, which is buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat, which basically means you buy a property for cash usually or get money from someone else. You fix it up, get the renter in there, you refinance it out 75% loan to value. There's private lenders that'll do that for you all day. So usually we target like properties that are gonna be 100 to 120K. So we're all in for 75 to 90. We get all that money back. Right. And now we have a property that's brand new. We have equity in it, so we're in a safe position, and it's making me $300 a month. And I just go get the next one. And then you start getting into these groups, you start getting on buyers lists, and all of a sudden, like, I check my email in the morning and I have 7 properties for analysis that I checked before I even went to work.
That's amazing. Trying to get where you're at. And where you're at.
Do it, bro.
What's your average hard money rate?
I'm sorry?
What's your average like hard money loan rate? Like 9%, 10%?
So I will accept, so he's asking what hard money rates are. So what a hard money lender is basically someone that'll give you money to do the project almost with 0 documents. Like you send them a purchase agreement. Usually they ask you, have you done 3 flips before? If you've done 3 or more, you're considered an expert in the wild, wild west world of private investing. So a lot of lenders will do 90% of the purchase and 100% of the renovation. So they give you all that money. The renovation again is in escrow, so you make draws on it. They usually send an inspector out just to check. And it's usually like what we call 2% origination. And I usually do 1% per month interest only. So let's say I bought a property that cost me $75,000 to buy and $75,000 to renovate. So I'm at $150,000. So my total loan's $150,000. I paid $7,000 at closing because that's my 10%. And now I have this $150,000 loan. They're charging me $1,500 a month interest. So I'm paying that $1,500 a month, getting that property flipped as fast as possible, hopefully 60 days or less. Start my underwriting to refinance it out. My property managers start to take applications to get the client, get the tenant in there. And then now that we get that appraisal and that property is worth $200K. So now my private lender is going to roll me into a 30-year mortgage at 4.5%, even 5%. It doesn't really matter when you get to the investing side about interest rates, because as long as the numbers make sense, like basically what we do is we do an analysis of mortgage, so principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and then we charge to the spreadsheet 10% vacancy, 10% management, 10% maintenance, and then usually 5 to 8% capital expenditures, so new roof, all that stuff. And if I put all of those numbers in there and there's still like $300 left over, we'll buy it.
Oh man, that's crazy. Beast.
So bigger pockets, I think that's what we should do. We should go over because they have a free little breakdown. They're a lot of fun. I used to do at least 10 of
on
them.
Instagram.
Yeah.
So bigger pockets is great. I actually met Brandon Turner in Hawaii, but that stuff, like when I first started, it didn't exist. Like there wasn't podcasts on things.
Right.
I was just accidentally doing these things and accidentally like coming up with the ideas to do stuff. And it turns out it's called the Burn Method. So getting mentors can streamline you. And I mean, there's risk. Like we do very calculated stuff. I have my own photographer in each area. I send him out because usually the deal, they'll take the picture over here, but the picture right there is a giant hole in the wall.
Right.
So we send our own photographers out, take pictures. I have a pretty good understanding of how much it costs me to repair, so I've really narrowed down my science. We just partnered on a flip that closed on us today in Acid. So we have the Guam Real Estate Investors Group that I'm the president of. We will meet at that property at some point like we did our last one and go over, here's what I bought it for, here's how I financed it, here's where we're at in the renovation, here's our mistakes and our gains. And so we bought it for $300,000 this morning. I think out of my money, I'm only putting in like $50,000. So I structured the deal to where everyone that came in with me, we all get pretty much a guaranteed return, and then anything that we make above that, we split evenly.
Absolutely.
And we can send a video out included with all the slides that you guys saw as well. Kind of going through the house and dissecting everything. So if you guys have any questions or want to really ask any questions or get involved, we're here.
Absolutely. So now I'm in the process of thinking about extending. Only because of big
My man.
But I also like to get involved.
1 year left and now it's 2.
So I'm trying to get into like more knowledge and more spaces like this. Gain and get there.
Yep, so your base is always that first property. Do your equity, like your sweat equity, so you typically going to do more of the work yourself. Your time, in a sense, is worth less than it is later because you don't have the skill sets, the knowledge to get everything done, or the money. You know, sometimes it's money. You start fixing it up, get it re-inspected. Great example. Last year, I sold a house to one of my buddies. He's actually a chief. When he got it, he had 50,000 equity. Like the appraisal came back, he bought it, I think, for 520. The appraisal said 570. Well, you can't get that money out at your initial closing because the lender takes sale price or appraisal, whichever is less, right? But that's 6 months later is when you can do the refinance. Well, it's been a year and a half. His property's worth way more than the 570, and he was at 3.5%. Now the rates are at 2.25. We set a meeting last week with him with PenFed. He's refinancing out, potentially taking $100,000 out. His payment's going to change like $100. And he's going to take all that money, start buying. He wants to do big equipment stuff, you know, backhoes, skid steers, land clearing, all those things, because that's what he wants to do. And he did that essentially without doing anything other than owning his house.
So it's fun to fund your goals like he did. He had a plan, he had a vision, and he did it through real estate. Yeah, it's cool. So I want this to be learning from our failures, so you guys don't have to. So that learning curve can stay away. And you guys can just go in, step into that equity, refinance, get that equity out, and start rolling it into other properties.
I mean, I met this guy a month ago, and we just put 50,000 each into a project.
I'm literally thinking about it. That's insane to me. Like,
Yeah.
But I'm reading a book by somebody like
Daniel?
Yes, and he talks about that. So I'm like really interested once I get the money out and then get into those things. I really would love to.
And sometimes, so
things like that.
So you asked me how did I scale, and you just reminded me how I scaled. The fastest way that I started scaling was, and this isn't easy to do, like it's almost painful. It's the change of the mindset of right now probably everyone in the room thinks I gotta have the money to buy the house. When you get there, and there is that point of when you know where you are, when you're on our map, it's when you get the deal that makes so much sense that people just give you the money. That's kind of where the switch made for me, that I was able to start scaling because people started sending me the deals. I did all the math, it made so much sense. I took it to my investors, they gave me the money to do it. I switched it over to the 30-year mortgages, and now those properties, everyone else's money. I gave those investors and those lenders tons and tons of money in interest, but it didn't matter because the end state was $300 a month, $300 a month, $300 a month. And I was doing one at a time, and then two at a time. And then just, I think, a few months ago, from right here, we bought 15 units. That was like the big booster up, right? And we did that from here with, I've never even been to the state that I own 27 properties in.
That's crazy.
But it took a while to get there, and it didn't happen until I started surrounding myself with the right people, if that makes sense. All right, well, I got a baby, so I got to get out of here. But appreciate everyone coming out tonight. Please stay in contact with us.
Is it?